Hi, I'm Patty Whitlow. I'm 29, married, mom to 2 boys, and I've got a master's in special education. My kids weren't allowed at my mom's 60th birthday because, according to her, it was adults only. At least that's what I was told, until I got there and saw every other cousin, niece, and nephew running around the party. When I asked, she didn't hesitate. "Your children wouldn't fit in." That's what she said. And right then, I realized this wasn't about an oversight, it was a choice. I left early. But the next day? I did something that shook everyone. See, I've spent most of my life walking this tightrope with my family, remembering birthdays no one else bothers with, hosting get-togethers, making sure people's kids had a safe space to nap, filling in when someone forgot their dish. And yet, somehow, I was always branded the dramatic one. The too sensitive one. The one who just wanted attention. Classic middle child syndrome. My older brother Chris is the golden boy dentist. My younger sister Chelsea, the baby, even at 26 with her own photography business. And me? I was the reliable background character, until my kids came along. So, when I saw that fancy printed invitation for my mom's milestone birthday, I thought maybe, just maybe, things were changing. But at the bottom, in tiny italics, it read, "Adults only, let's keep it classy." I showed it to my husband. "Is it just me," I asked, "or does this sound like it's aimed at us?" He squinted, then said, "You mean at Liam?" Liam is my oldest. 7 years old, brilliant, hilarious, an encyclopedia of dragons thanks to his obsession with how to train your dragon. He's also autistic, which in my family, apparently, makes him an inconvenience. My youngest, Max, is 5, charming, energetic, the kind of kid who makes strangers smile. Both of them have been part of every holiday, every reunion. Until now. I didn't want to be the dramatic one again, so I booked a sitter, picked out a dress, and RSVP'd yes. The party was at a fancy winery, valet parking, string lights, a cake so huge it needed its own zip code. I walked in and stopped cold. A kid's table. Balloons. Glittery name cards. A magician. A puppet show. And sitting there, giggling, eating cake, were all the other kids. Everyone's kids. Except mine. I felt the sting like a physical slap. And then I found my mom laughing with my siblings near the patio. She smiled at me like nothing was wrong. "Patty, isn't this beautiful?" I didn't play along. I thought this was an adults-only party. She blinked, head tilted, voice calm, almost bored. "Oh, well, it was easier to say that. You know how Liam can be. Your children wouldn't fit in." Those words cut deep. Not we had to make it small. Not there was a mistake. Just a decision. Not all kids were excluded, just mine. I turned, walked past the magician and bubble machine, past the balloons and glittery name tags, straight out to my car. I sat there, hands shaking on the steering wheel, and finally saw what I hadn't wanted to admit for years. It wasn't that they didn't want my kids to belong. They didn't want me to belong. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, her words echoing over and over, "Your children wouldn't fit in." Not couldn't. Wouldn't. Like puzzle pieces from the wrong box. And as I thought of Liam, cross-legged on the rug, proudly explaining how toothless tail fin works, while Max chimes in with random dinosaur facts just to feel included, it hit me. This wasn't new. This was just the first time they'd been so brazen. Growing up, I was always too much. Too emotional, too intense, always making everything about me. I once showed my mom a poem about feeling lonely, and she barely glanced up from her magazine. "Sweetie, not everything has to be about you." At 15, when I had a panic attack so bad I couldn't breathe, my dad asked if I was faking. My mom told me to lie down until I could behave normally. Meanwhile, if Chris stubbed his toe, 3 people would rush in with ice and pillows. The rule was clear: be cheerful. Be easy. Don't need too much. I never fit that mold. And now Liam, well, he doesn't either. Not because he doesn't try. He does. But his brain works differently. When we finally got his autism diagnosis last year, my mom blinked like I'd just told her he grew a second head. Stirring her tea, she said, "You always were theatrical." As if neurodivergence was just another attention grab. David was ready to cut them off then. I wasn't. I still clung to the hope they'd come around. That if I showed them how wonderful Liam was, they'd see him, really see him. But they never did. Instead, I heard, he's intense. Maybe if he socialized more? Do you think he uses it as an excuse? Meanwhile, Max, the easy one, was lavished with praise for every small thing. Easy equaled lovable. Different equaled tolerated. Autistic equaled excluded. That invitation hadn't been about keeping it classy. It was about keeping things comfortable for them. Because Liam might flap his hands, or talk about dragons too long, or just exist differently. But you know what else makes people uncomfortable? The truth. The truth is, my family has never really known what to do with me. When I earned a full scholarship for college? Wow, didn't expect that. When we bought our first house? Well, must be nice having a husband who handles money so well. When I began teaching? Oh, so you just play with kids all day. Every achievement I've ever worked for has been chalked up to luck, David's effort, or me being extra. And every challenge I've faced has been twisted into my fault, because I'm too difficult. After Liam was diagnosed, my dad said, "I'm sure he'll grow out of it, just like you did." Except I didn't grow out of anything. I grew through it, through their dismissive comments, through the silence, through every little joke that told me I was wrong for being myself. And now they expect me to let my son swallow that same poison? No. Absolutely not. It's wild how quickly things fall into place once you stop making excuses for people. By the next morning, I knew exactly what needed to happen. David already did. Over coffee, he looked at me and asked, "We're done, right?" I just nodded. Yeah. We're done. But before I could even take a breath, the photos started flooding in. Facebook, Instagram, even a text from my cousin Emily, why weren't the boys there? They had a whole dragon-themed craft table. Liam would have loved it. Yes, Emily. He would have. There were snapshots of the kids' table, videos of the puppet show, cousins laughing in matching outfits, while my son sat at home asking why we couldn't go to Grandma's party. And the cruel twist? That craft table I supposedly wasn't allowed to bring him to. I had helped pay for it. See, the party was a collective expense. Each sibling contributed based on income. Since David and I earn more than Chris and Chelsea, we paid more. So in short, I funded the magician, the puppet show, the craft station, and yet, my children were deliberately left out of enjoying any of it. That was the turning point. It wasn't just about feelings anymore. It was about respect, about being treated as disposable. So I wrote an email. Calm, polite, factual. Hi Mom. I noticed the party was not, in fact, adults only. I also noticed the activities I helped fund were enjoyed by every child except mine. I'd like a refund of our contribution since the event was misrepresented. Additionally, David and I will not be attending the family reunion. We're stepping back for now. Patty. No yelling. No drama. Just facts. The fallout came quickly. First, my mom forwarded my email to the family group chat with a single line, "I'm just so hurt. I don't even know how to respond." Passive aggression in Helvetica. Then came the chorus. "Chelsea, I don't get why you're doing this to Mom. She worked so hard on the party." Chris, we all know Liam struggles at big events. Maybe Mom was protecting him. From my Aunt Karen, who didn't even show up. And my favorite, I think Patty's just overwhelmed. New school year, 2 kids, it's a lot. Let's give her space. Ah yes, the overwhelmed mom narrative. So much tidier than admitting my children were excluded on purpose. I didn't reply. Silence is power, and it terrifies people when you finally learn how to use it. By the next day, my mom texted me directly, "I'm sorry you felt hurt. That wasn't my intention. But asking for money back feels petty. You contributed like everyone else." Pause. Like everyone else. Except my like everyone else was $600. Chelsea gave $200. Chris managed $150, late. So no, not the same. And I didn't get the same either. Everyone else's kids got a puppet show. Mine got a babysitter. When I showed David her text, he muttered, "Should have sent her an invoice." I was tempted. Instead, I replied, "It's not about the money. It's about being lied to. If you didn't want my kids there, you should have had the spine to say so." Calling it adults only, then hosting a literal puppet show, that was deliberate. I'm adjusting my involvement accordingly. No answer. But later she FaceTimed me, glass of rose in hand, trying to look like the martyr. "Can we just talk about this without making it a thing?" I blinked. "Without making what a thing? You mean the part where my kids weren't invited to a party I helped fund?" She sighed. "You always do this. You make everything about exclusion, about Liam. It's exhausting. Exhausting. My feelings, exhausting. My son's neurodivergence, exhausting. My refusal to smile and swallow it, exhausting." I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, "We're done pretending this is normal." And I hung up. Blocked her. For now. And then something unexpected happened. The cousin group chat lit up, and this time, a few were on my side. Emily messaged privately, "I didn't realize your invite said adults only. That's messed up." Sarah, who's had her own issues with my mom, texted, "I'm proud of you. I know how they are." Word was spreading, the adults-only rule applied exclusively to my children. People were talking. By Monday, my mom tried a different tactic. She skipped me entirely and called David. Big mistake. She cried about losing her daughter, about feeling attacked, then said, "I know Patty listens to you. Can you help her understand how much she's hurting everyone?" David let her finish, then said quietly, "No. She understands perfectly. You're just upset she finally stopped letting it happen." Then he hung up. When he told me, I just stared at him. Because in that moment, I realized, he's the first person who has ever backed me without conditions. I grew up thinking love meant endurance, bending, shrinking yourself to be tolerated. David taught me love is safety. On Tuesday, my mom sent one final message, "If this is really what you want, to tear the family apart, then there's nothing I can do. But I hope you think about the example you're setting for your kids." And I did. I thought about it long and hard. What kind of example was I setting? I wasn't teaching them that silence equals strength. I was showing that being accepted should never require shrinking yourself. That love without respect isn't love at all, it's just manipulation dressed up pretty. So that afternoon, I wrote back. "The example I'm setting is boundaries, Chris. That real love doesn't mean tolerating cruelty. That my kids don't have to contort themselves into something acceptable just to be welcome. You didn't simply exclude them, you made them feel like outcasts in a family that should have embraced them most. That wasn't a misunderstanding. That was a decision. And now, I was making mine. No emojis, no polite sign-off. Just truth." Then I blocked her too. The reunion? It started unraveling right after. It was meant to happen in 2 months, but the Airbnb isn't booked, no spreadsheets, no meal plans, no activities. Nobody's handling travel. Why? Because I used to do it all. Patty, the attention seeker. Patty, the dramatic one. Patty, who was apparently only valuable when she kept quiet and stayed useful. Without me, the glue's gone, and the cracks are obvious. Emily reached out last night. So, is it terrible that I'm kind of relieved you finally said it? Honestly, the way they talk about Liam behind your back always made me uncomfortable. Behind my back, yes. But not anymore. I'm not a secret, and my son isn't a shameful footnote. My silence is no longer for sale. You'd think blocking my entire immediate family would send a clear enough message. But no, people like my mom don't retreat when they're confronted. They regroup. And my sister? She turned the group chat into a war council. That's why, one Saturday morning, I saw David freeze by the window, coffee mug halfway to his lips. "You're not going to believe this," he said. I looked up from Liam's half-dry cereal science project. "If it involves clowns, guilt trips, or Chelsea, I'll believe it." He stepped aside. And there they were, my mom, Chris, and Chelsea, lined up on our porch like they were auditioning for Dr. Phil, Narcissist Edition. "Don't answer it," I muttered. But David lives for this kind of chaos. He cracked the door and said firmly, "She doesn't want to talk to you." Through the gap, my mom's voice came, soft but sharp, "We just want to make things right." Right. Because apparently making things right meant Chris saying, "You made Grandma cry," and Chelsea whining, "This is literally going to ruin the reunion." That's what mattered to them, the reunion. Not my kids. Not the exclusion. Just the event. I didn't move from the floor. I sat with Liam, glue and glitter stuck to our hands, while my family tried to gaslight me from the front lawn. Eventually, they gave up. David closed the door. "Why was Grandma yelling?" Liam asked. "She thought she was in charge," I said. He nodded, serious, then went back to his wings. The next attack came online. Our extended family uses this old forum. It's like Facebook's nosy, outdated cousin. We post reunion details, birthdays, prayer requests, and the occasional passive-aggressive meme. Chelsea was first to post. Title: Family isn't supposed to hurt. She opened with, "I debated saying anything, but silence fuels division." Some people have lashed out instead of handling things with grace. Handled with grace. Translation: I was supposed to smile while my children were excluded, and while I footed the bill. She accused me of demanding money like ransom, refusing forgiveness, and attacking Mom during her milestone birthday. Comments poured in. Older relatives who barely know me chimed in with the usual cliches. Family is hard, but you only get one. Someone needs Jesus and a nap. I didn't respond. Not yet. Years of being called too emotional had taught me, collect receipts first. The next morning, I replied. Just one post. Titled, "Setting the Record Straight." Attached was a PDF. Screenshot of my invite, adults only, let's keep it classy. A photo from the party, kids glitter table, balloon artist, magician. My $600 Venmo transfer, Mom's 60th, per family split. A list of my contributions, $400 reunion Airbnb, $300 Christmas dinner, $250 Grandma's 85th cake. And a redacted message from my mom joking, "Well, you were always a little dramatic." Liam gets it honestly. My note read, "I didn't ruin the reunion. I just stopped organizing it. I didn't divide the family. I pointed out what everyone knew but never admitted. Not all of us were accepted. Some were tolerated. Some were scrutinized. Some quietly pushed aside. My son wasn't excluded by mistake. And I'm done staying silent about it." Then I logged out. I didn't check the fallout, but David did. The forum imploded. Some relatives messaged me privately to thank me. Others went silent. A few rallied around my mom. One cousin even asked if the reunion was still happening. Spoiler, it wasn't. Nobody stepped up. Nobody could agree. The whole thing crumbled like a Jenga tower built on denial. So, we threw our own party. Not a reunion, just a birthday. Liam turned 8. We invited only the ones who truly showed up for us. Emily and her kids. My coworker Mara and her wife. A couple neighbors. Aunt Lucy, who quit the forum and mailed Liam a card that read, "You fit in exactly as you are." Liam wore dragon wings. Max insisted on being a fire wizard. There was a scavenger hunt, a cupcake bar, and a volcano piñata, which Liam scolded for being scientifically inaccurate before gleefully smashing it. It was small. Warm. Real. At one point, Liam looked at me, frosting on his cheek, and said, "Mom, I really like this party. It's the kind that doesn't make me tired." I nearly cried into the cupcakes, because that was all I ever wanted. Not perfection. Not flashy acceptance. Just a place we could breathe. Do I regret how it played out? Not at all. I didn't break the family. I just stopped pretending it wasn't broken already. And in the quiet that followed, I built something new. Smaller, softer, but honest. 3 years later, Liam's 11 now. Still obsessed with dragons, though he's branched into dinosaurs and ocean predators. He once gave a 20-minute TED Talk at the dinner table on hunting patterns of the Dunkleistos. Max pretended to nap halfway through, but they both ended up laughing until they cried. We moved last year, new neighborhood, bigger yard, no emotional landmines buried under family gatherings. And the people who come to our home now? They come with love, not expectations. The reunion never came back. There are 2 family group chats now. I'm not in either. Chelsea sent me a Christmas card once, I never opened it. My mom still tells people I've distanced myself. She's right. But that distance is what saved me, and Liam. So tell me, what do you think? Was I wrong? Too harsh? Or not harsh enough? And if you want to hear more stories like this one, hit subscribe.